To the one and only Team 2.
Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking and great to have you along for episode 18 of the Boxing Deep Dive show. So we've got a big show as always. I'm going to bring in my co-host for this evening, the one and only Grant Tazzy Brown. How are you, Tazzy?
I'm good, thanks, Lyndon.
And of course, our own Golden Greek, Peter Maniatis. How are you there, Peter? All good, mate?
No, all good, Lyndon, all good. But
did I see you courtside? Did I see you courtside at the Kyrgios game, Peter? Was that you?
No, but no. George Kambosos was there, so was Jimmy, and the Greek fans were going nuts.
I'm sure I saw you there.
Crazy.
I'm sure I saw you in the crowd chatting with the flag.
I'm sure I saw him at the doubles game. Kyrgios, yeah.
How good is it though? Like all jokes aside, to see him come to Melbourne of all places and be treated like the hero's welcome. I know we had the people at the airport, of course, but to go to a Australian Open game with obviously Greeks everywhere because the player I don't really know his name, but he's a bit of a star. But Kambosos to get there and become, the star of the show, it was great, wasn't it, Tazzy?
Yeah, it was awesome, mate. Yeah, look. That's why if he does fight, it probably should be in Melbourne, obviously, because of that reason. But no, it was good, mate. He deserves it, you know what I mean? And it's good to see, boxing, finally get a crossover into not just being known in boxing circles, but to go to the tennis and be stopped. And, it's just great for the sport. It just helps push our sport up more. And, no, mate, and it's what he deserves. I mean, he's a star, mate. He's a pure star.
Yeah, he is, mate. What do you reckon, Peter? It was obviously, I know you're only half Greek, but it must be, make you proud to be out there. And the Aussies are a little bit more subdued in their support, but the Greeks, there's no holding back there, was it? It was great.
No, they're passionate. And Stefano Tsitsipas had a big win over against Sinner as well, the Italian, and he's obviously in the semi-final now up against Medvedev, the Russian. So Tazzy will be cheering for the Russians. And
I am going for the Russian. I'm going for the Russian.
Probably watching an Adolf Hitler documentary to inspire him just before the match as well. That's what he said. Tazzy said he watches Adolf Hitler.
Is that right?
I watch Hitler docos. I watch the Hitler docos every day.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I love history. That's why I like World War II and not about him personally, not condoning him, but I love the history and I love the whole thing of World War II. It was
Look, he started off with great ideas and.
Oh, have we lost Pete there?
Who? Adolf?
Have we lost Pete there? Oh no, he's back. Yeah, he's back.
Am I back?
Let's not get too. Let's not get too political.
No history. I just want to say we've got a massive show tonight. It's great to have you both back because last week I obviously did the show solo, which I got to say is not the easiest thing to do when you've got to talk to a camera and you've got no one to bounce off.
You done a good job, Lindy.
I appreciate that, mate. Well, I had to call in the big guns.
Well done, Linda.
I had to call Shannon and the twins to say, hey guys, come on and give me a chop out, but they were great. I really enjoyed doing the interview with. They're always great to interview, and it was really good to have actually the twins did the Aussie news with me, and Shannon as always.
You should have done a quiz, Lyndon, but with yourself. You might have won it.
I might have won. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, got the quiz later on. I got a little bit of a twist in tonight's quiz. I'll tell you about it a little bit later. But it's great to have it back for 2022. Great. But tonight, not only we've got all the Aussie news coming up, we've got the world news, and also got an interview with Faris Chavalier, who's actually just joining now. We might actually get him on early. There he is.
Yeah,
he's a little bit early. Is Faris? Let's see if he's going to come on there. There he is. We might. I'll bring him on here. He's a little bit ahead of schedule there. Where is he? There he is. Faris, how are you, buddy?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, mate. You're a fraction early, but it's good we've started the show. So rather than wait for all the other news, we're going to get you on while we're all nice and fresh and get straight into it, mate. So really appreciate you coming on.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me, boys. And
obviously, you know the great man on the bottom right-hand screen there, Peter Maniatis. You're obviously part of the stable. So, and thanks to Peter for getting you on. And look, I've got to say, it's really good to actually have you on, Faris, because you know, a lot of the other boxers sort of hog the social media channels these days, so it's great to have someone like yourself who Pete always talks up, and we've obviously seen you in action in the last couple of fights, which have been really impressive, mate, so great to have you on our show.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'm sure you guys have got some questions too, but I'm going to kick it off. Faris, you're actually born in Paris. What age did you actually come to Australia?
I came in Australia in 2010.
2010, yeah?
Yes.
And the reasoning for that, was it just a different life, or what made you come over here?
Look, honestly, I came here for vacation. Yeah. You know, I'm from Paris. It's pretty great. It's a big city.
You fell in love, didn't you?
Like something. Sorry, can you hear me?
Did you fall in love with something, did you? Or
I came here for vacation. I never leave, you know. I never went back. So, yeah, I guess I fell in love with the lifestyle. I was like, you know, everything is just different here. Because like it's a really nice country. I'm really like, you know, grateful to be here. You know, a lot of opportunities too. So, yeah.
And were you're obviously in the boxing before you came to Australia, or did you start in Australia?
No, I was into the boxing when I was in Paris. I was always doing a lot of like training camp in France, but I was just an amateur over there. Okay, and you turned pro in Australia. Now I think you turned pro initially with the Fortitude team. Is that right, from memory? No, I turned pro when I was in Cairns. So I came in Byron Bay. I stayed in Byron Bay for 6 months. Then I went to Cairns. Yeah. And I did few amateur fights in Cairns, and I turned pro there. And eventually I moved to Brisbane to be able to like have a better training, better sparring partners. That's how I landed to Fortitude Boxing. Yeah, with Steve and Luke up there. Yeah. With Steve, Luke, back in the day was Jared Fletcher, Dennis Hogan. We had a really good pro team to work there. Yeah, no, good team. Tazzy, you got a question for Faris there?
Yeah, you would have had some great sparring there, mate, with Jared Fletcher and Dennis Hogan, I believe. Yes.
Like I remember I did a lot of sparring with Jared Fletcher. It was what was good with Jared Fletcher, he was bringing his physique, is really physical. And I think like the difference between like amateur and pro, amateur you can really focus on your skill and shine for 3 rounds, but like the pro you need to be able to like, you know, keep putting the work for these 10 rounds. And like Jared Fletcher always like this good work rate, so he really like pushed me. It was good to work with him.
Yeah, I was in Bendigo, mate, when you had that great win over Blake Capillero. You know, you obviously hadn't fought for over 3 years, and I don't think you had the greatest preparation for it.
5 years.
5 years. Oh my God,
yes.
Yeah. And was that on short notice too? How long did you have to prepare for that fight?
They gave me 4 weeks notice.
Wow.
Well, Pete, you would have been.
Yeah, it was a great.
Sorry, Tazzy, go ahead, mate.
It was a great performance, mate. You know, Blake's been such a awkward opponent for so many guys, and he's fought Kovalev, and he's beaten most guys they put in front of him. That was a really good performance, mate. And I'd heard of you and I'd seen you fight a couple of times, but really stood out to me, mate. I was really in awe that night.
That was good. Yeah, it was. It was a surprise. I think that's definitely the best performance of my career. We took the fight on short notice. I've always been into boxing and like, I work, I've got students, so I train different martial arts. And like, we got this offer, I took it, and now we got this opportunity. I just showed up. It was great to be able to like perform the way I did in Bendigo, you know.
Pete, you were obviously awesome. Part of that with the whole range of fight, because I think in hindsight, I think there was probably 4 or 5 different opponents that had been penciled in with Blake along the way, and they'd all fallen out for different reasons. So just let us in on how the offer came about and what was behind actually accepting the fight after Faris had been out for so long.
Well, we knew they were looking for fights, and Joel and I and Faris had a chat. We said, Faris, put a post up on Facebook, and that'll be the bait, and see if Sam LeBrun and the team jump on. And Faris put the post up, bang, they jumped on, and the fight happened. But at the time, no one wanted to fight Blake Caparello. He's number 3 in the world. He defeated a lot of top quality fighters, and he beat, we're talking every fighter in Australia comfortably. So Faris was out for 5 years, 4 weeks' notice to go into Blake's backyard and dominate a unanimous win up against the WBA number 3 in the world. For mine, prove that Faris can win a world title at light heavyweight. And I really mean that. I don't say that sparingly, and I think he doesn't get the kudos he deserves with the Australian fans, and I don't know why that is. Even his recent win up against Reynold Quinlan was accepted a week out. We took the fight a week out. Faris and I were at High Point with Joel. We're having a coffee. Brock Ellis called up. We answered. Faris just said yes. A week out. He didn't realise he had to lose 6 or 7 kilo. The day of the weigh-in, we had to lose 4 or 5 kilo. It was me and Faris's lovely wife, Umama, and we basically did the weight cut with Faris. That's all we had. There was no team. And we basically just got the weight cut right on the 12:30 deadline. So he went live on Fox. We had Matt Rose and everyone calling us, but he was still in the sauna at 12:25. So, I mean, look, he done it the hard way, and he put in a world-class performance. And there are offers on the table. I mean, Maxim Blasov, Anthony Yarde, Callum Johnson, obviously Dimitri Bivol. All these guys are in line to fight Faris, and I think the way he's going, I know he's 35, but he's a young 35. I think the world's his oyster. I think he gets on that platform, and we see the next level of Faris, because we saw George Kambosos do it. I think Faris is made out of the same cloth. I think we've got a real world-class fighter here. We just need Australia to get behind him.
Yeah, and on that, Faris, Pete just mentioned the Blake Caparello fight. You didn't hesitate to take that fight. Watching it on the night, it was amazing to think you'd been out of the ring for 5 years. How did you feel in there? Was there rust there, or was it just business as usual?
It's obviously a bit of question in mind how the fight's gonna happen. Before this fight, I was in the preparation. Like, what people don't know, I was trying to do a transition to MMA because I couldn't get any boxing fights. Yeah. So I got tired. I really wanted to get back into it. So I started doing MMA. And that's why I could see my style was a bit different. I could see some people commenting about my stance, how I hold my hands, but they need to understand when I did this transition with MMA, I started to have a different understanding in martial arts. And I was able to bring that to boxing. It works well with me. And after a fight is a fight. I think when you're in the ring, you have to forget about everything. It's just you and another man, and I try to just focus on the job. I'm not looking at his credential. I know he's a good fighter, so do I. And after, it's just the best man's gonna win. And the one that want is the most that want the win. What you have to understand is when I fought Blake got a lot of opportunities. He fought overseas. He's all top position, top ranking. I haven't. I'm 35, but I'm still hungry. I want it. I want this big fight. I'm not interested to I told Pete, get me the fighter that no one's won. Let's challenge Arthur Beterbiev. I want the big fight. I want to test myself. I want to test my skills.
Before I get to you, Tassie, I just want to just start with your comment there, Pete, about a bit of love from Australia. Now, I think you're away for that episode, but Tassie, do you remember we actually had Faris in our top 10 pound for pound in Australia? I think you were away, Pete, but we had you at number 10, so we're giving you a bit of love anyway, mate. You're our number 10. Yeah. You're our number
exactly
10
right,
on the list there. So,
Faris, do you have much?
Sorry. Yep, go ahead, Pete. What do you want to say, mate?
No, what I meant was, it's for a fighter like Faris, it's good we get behind him because he can win a world title. He's a legitimate world-class fighter, and Australian people love that. So why not get behind him? We've got big promotions coming up. Support the man. He doesn't, he's trying his heart out. He's got 3 kids. He loves boxing, and he's 35, but he's a young 35. I mean, if you see his fights, he hardly gets hit.
No, it doesn't get
hit. And that's a great thing about it. Yeah.
Go ahead, Tassie.
Faris, do you have access to much good sparring where you're based? I mean, we need good sparring for all preparations. Do you have much access to that where you are?
It's always been hard to get the proper sparring, but we find a way. Sometimes I do some sparring. Some of my friends, some of MMA fighters. I work with some students who I just try to get as many rounds as I can, But I'm aware that like there's a level when you need this top quality sparring, and that's where. That's the beauty to be able to like plan your camp. We were talking about a fight with Anthony Yarde. If they give me 10 weeks camp, I got the time to organize the right sparring. At this level, you need a proper camp at this level.
100%. And you're based in Queensland, are you?
Yeah, in Brisbane.
Well, there should be plenty. A lot of fighters in Queensland. There should be access to, with the proper time to have a proper camp to get some quality sparring for yourself.
Yeah, we work around it. There's few fighters, so it's good. Brisbane is a good place to live too. It's really easy to go from gym to gym and try to get sparring.
Yeah.
So.
Is it the East Side Gym?
So far, it's been good.
It's the East Side Gym.
Sorry?
I think it's the East Side Gym in Brisbane. I think is where you train, is it?
I train at different places. Okay. I train with I train at East Side. I train another gym called Webstrom. I do some work with some MMA gym. There's two like Team Compton and Southside MMA. I just try to get as many rounds as I can. I've been blessed. I've got like this gym that supports me, that allowed me to come and train with them. So it's been incredible.
And what are the?
There was a post.
Sorry, go ahead, Pete. Sorry, mate.
I was going to say, Hardman put up a post last year saying he needed to pay his house off anyone from middleweight, super middleweight, to light heavyweight. Now, Faris jumped in and said, well, if you're not going to fight us at light heavy, I'll come down to super middle. That was never met with anyone. I spoke to D. Lonigan, we spoke to all the promoters. I just want to know why that was getting ignored when you say you'll fight anyone. So my reaction to Hardman and people like that is don't say you'll fight anyone when you won't fight anyone.
Yeah. True.
Well, so this is probably a question more so for you, Pete, but Faris can obviously come in there. What are some of the goals, or the maybe prospective opponents? I know Faris was talking about maybe some international guys. Is there anyone at national level that you've sort of got your eyes on, or it's all about the international scene at the moment?
Look, Faris is ready for a world title pretty soon.
Yeah, and I suppose at 35 you can't muck around.
We want the big fight. We want to get challenged. After, at the same time, I'm aware I'm on the B side, so I need to wait, and at the same time I can't wait too long. So we always welcome if you can have fights in between. I want to be active. That's one of the main things that I want. But
we can mention a story, Faris. Remember, you were meant to fight Maxim Vlasov in Moscow, December 25th. We got the contracts. We sent all the scanned passports. And then Oleg Bodobiev and El Siesta, they were hesitating, and Faris said, look, we need to know pretty quick. We don't know why they were hesitating. Well, Maxim Vlasov people saw the fight with Blake Caparello, and he said, I'm not fighting Faris on that short notice. I need a proper training camp, and pulled out of the fight with Faris. They told us that was exact what happened. So, and I think they got someone else in for Maxim Vlasov December 25th, and he won on points. So that's something from South America. But, that's just how good Faris is. When they actually, Maxim Vlasov's trainer and Maxim Vlasov saw Faris, they said, we're not going to fight a guy like this on 4 weeks' notice. He's not a 4 weeks' notice type of guy. We need a lot of preparation. So I think the respect's coming for Faris, and everyone knows he's very hard to match and hard to fight against because, it's like Rigondeaux and guys like that. They're very, very hard to beat once you're in the ring with them.
Yeah. Is there any? Are you aligned with the promoter, Faris? Probably another question for you, Pete. But Faris, are you with anyone, or are you just you're a free agent at the moment?
No, we are free agent at the moment. We're not aligned with any promoters.
Yeah. And I've got to ask the question: why aren't you on the KO show in Melbourne? Everyone else is.
Sorry.
Why aren't you on the KO show in Melbourne? It's a perfect platform for you to come to Melbourne.
I'm coming to Melbourne actually next week.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's
yes.
sparring Matt Sheehan too.
Ooh,
He'll be
nice.
working with Matt Sheehan.
Wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little workout.
Yeah. Well, mate, we'll let you go. Really appreciate you coming on and being our guest tonight. As I said, we really like to
Thank
get
you.
behind guys like yourself. Don't forget the Boxing Deep Dive Top 10. Faris is number 10. So hopefully with a bullet climbing there, mate. And we'll look out with your career with interest and wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
Take care,
Thanks,
mate.
Faris.
Bye.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks. See you guys.
All right, so Faris Chavalier, that's great. Thanks for lining that up, Pete. He's looks like I've never actually met Faris before. Looks like he's a gentleman, as most Frenchmen are. So hopefully he gets a couple of those big fights that you're talking about.
Yeah, and a very relaxed customer on fight night. He it's just like he hasn't got a fight coming up. He's just so blasé. He's just a real relaxed gentleman. So yeah, he needs the big fights, and I think now he's put himself in a position to get the big fights. So time will tell.
He's got a massive issue though, Pete. He's good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, and he's a southpaw.
Yeah, and I say that in a good way, of course. That's why I asked about the promoter thing, because unfortunately, if you're on the B side and you're a very good fighter, it's even tougher to get those big fights, isn't it? So
Of course.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's ranked 13 on BoxRec, so that tells you where he sits. I mean, anyone that's ranked around the top 10 on BoxRec is a serious player. I know a lot of
I'm
people
actually
say,
go, Tezzy.
I'm actually good friends with Callum Johnson. I was in Canada with him in the amateurs years ago, and when I was coaching Luke Jackson in Canada, he was there for the Scottish team, and we talk regularly. We spoke the other week, and he was meant to fight for the world title against was it Joe
Smith.
Joe Smith.
Yeah, but he got COVID.
Yeah, but he got
COVID.
He got COVID. So yeah, but he's a good guy, and he's a good fighter too. He dropped better Dev, but he lost to better. It's his only loss. But so that'd be good if that happened, and that'd be awesome.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll get back to what we started talking about at the start of the show with the lineup. So obviously the Aussie news, the world news. I've had the interview with Faris Chavalier, so surprise. So that was good to have him on, and we've got maybe Tassie's tirade if he's up to it tonight. We've got the talking points. I will say there's another 5 good ones tonight, and then of course the quiz, which I said has got a little bit of a quiz. Now, just before we get started though, Pete, we've had a bit of a crack at you for being at the Australian Open, waving the Greek flag while getting hysterical while George Kambosos walked into the building. But Tassie, last night I went out for dinner, took the family to Melbourne, went to a great spot that we go to regularly called the Meat and Wine Co. in Melbourne. If you're there, the best ribs and steak in Melbourne, bar none, so get there. There's my free plug for them. Got home, put the feet up, put the TV on just to have a bit of a look at what's going on, and all of a sudden my phone starts to go, and there's an Instagram notification. Tassie Brown is going live. So I thought, here we go. So I pick up the phone, and what do I see? An exclusive interview on Noonan Boy Promotions Instagram page with our very own Grant Tassie Brown, mate. What was all that about?
Yeah, Noonan Boy, I've met him through Choc when Mundine was in the prep for Zarafa down here at my gym, Mick Hargrave's gym where I work at Boxing Fit Port Melbourne. And we kept in touch, and when I was in Queensland, he hit me up and said, I'd love to interview you. We'll do an interview, and we're going to meet up in person and do it, but time went ahead, and he said, we'll do an Instagram live, and he'll advertise it. And because he's a massive fan of our show.
He is.
Massive supporter.
Yeah.
He tells everyone because he loves the platform of how we do it, how we're all educated in boxing, how we all speak the truth, and we know what we're talking about. So, and then, it was really good. I enjoyed it. He was just throwing a lot of names at me, Australian names, guys I know, international names, and he was just getting my I guess, just about my history, knowledge of the sport and about the past fighters and about the amateurs back in the day, or our era. Lyndon would give Robbie Peden a plug and all the guys there. And I really enjoyed it. He said he's had some good feedback from it. So, I guess it's all all publicity is good publicity, I guess.
It is, mate. It is. I'm not sure whether you caught it, Pete, but I caught a fair bit of it and actually thought it was really. It went for over an hour. I think.
To be honest,
good viewing.
To be honest, Lyndon, I was at the tennis with the Greek flag, so I didn't see anything.
I thought you might have been cut up and he didn't ask you on.
Well, I gave you a plug, Peter. I gave you a plug. I said how you're the Hall of Fame promoter and a bit of a rock star on King Street, so I'll give you a plug.
Well, I've got to say, all jokes aside, it was a really good interview. I thought he asked some really good questions, and I thought you spoke.
Yeah.
All things aside, I thought you spoke really well, mate. So, and like you said, he's a big supporter of our channel.
Yeah.
Give us a plug, and really appreciate the support from someone like him. He's obviously got a very big platform, and he's got a lot of contacts. So if you're watching Nick, is it Nick or Mick? It's Nick. I think.
Nick.
Yeah, Nick. Really appreciate your support,
Well,
mate.
we should get him on the show one time.
Yeah, we should.
Sure.
We should.
Yep.
He's
Love to
actually
hear some
keen
of his
for that,
stories.
actually.
Yeah. So.
Well, mate, he works a fight height.
Yep.
So you don't get much bigger than that. And I mean, he's been over there with Floyd Mayweather, and he's been behind the scenes. So I think the last time he was in America was before COVID in just 220. But so yeah, he's pretty connected, mate. So that'd be good to get him on. And he's actually mentioned he'd be up for that. So yeah.
Yeah. No, sounds good. Well, we'll definitely do that. And if you want to check out his Instagram and Facebook, it's Noonan Boy Promotions. I think the handle is. So check it out. So we've got a big show to get into, guys. Not so much going on with the Aussie news at the moment, I've got to say. Really just a bit of a quiet week, I think, guys. Last week I went over a fair bit. I went over, I think, Sky Nicholson. I went over the Barry Hall and Sonny Bill Williams fight that was announced. So, but yeah, it's still a little bit quiet. I've got a couple of things, Tassie, I wanted to sort of run by you. It's the... Obviously, there's been a little bit of news on Nikita Zoo this week. You can see he's done his first photo shoot there, so he's looking good. It's a bit like looking into a mirror there, I reckon, when you look at that. Tassie, what do you reckon?
He's looking good, Nikita. I actually spoke to Tim today, and I messaged Nikita the other day, and mate, I think he's fighting on early March of
March 5th,
March 5th, yeah.
Yeah, I've got that on the agenda there. But are you able to look? There's been a lot of conjecture that and I'm assuming by that photo there, he's going to be with no limit. I haven't actually seen anything officially announced yet. I'm not sure if you're in the know, but I'm judging by that photo, he's going to be a no limit fighter. Is that? Am I wrong in assuming that?
No, I think so. I think it makes sense.
It makes sense, of course it does.
Well, he's starting off this show, which is obviously a Fox show.
Yep.
Did we talk about the main event of that the other day? Who the main event was? It's
Well, look, I've got that on here to bring up. Looks like at this stage that, and it's all hasn't officially been announced, but my sources say it's going to be Liam Wilson up against Joe Noine in the rematch.
Yeah, rematch. That's right.
Of Liam getting stopped a few months back. I think also on the card, obviously, will be Nikita. I'm not sure they'll put him as the main event. I would like to see him just slip in there, as one of the
who?
Nikita, just slip into the card.
Glenn said when we had dinner here months ago, he's going to start off like every other fighter, mate. He'll be just on the undercard. He'll earn his stripes, the old-fashioned way.
And there's also,
and that's what they don't.
Yeah, and Pete, there's also there's word looks like it may be Jade Mitchell and Shannon O'Connell on the card as well. So if that is the case, the Liam Wilson, Joe Noine main event, Nikita on there, Jade and Shannon. I think that's a ripper card, and I'm assuming they'll have I'm just trying to think of the other young kid getting around. This name escapes me at the moment.
Can I mention something that I heard that I don't want to. Break news and get in any trouble,
hey,
but I mean, what I heard is going to happen. Paul Gallen versus David Tua.
Oh, David Tua? How old is he? About 50?
Doesn't matter.
Probably not, actually. Well, I was just going to say that's a bold.
That looks like happening. Obviously, yeah.
I was going to say it looks like a bit of a bold call on Gallen's behalf, but then again, look what he did with the other MMA fighter that he fought. Who was that, Mark?
Well, David Tua's not MMA. David Tua is one of the best heavyweights to never win a world title. I don't care how old Tua is, mate. He'll knock Gallen Spark out.
Yeah, I would think so too. Pete, The rematch, if it is the case with Wilson and Noine, what's your opinion? It was probably a little bit of a mini talking point. Do you think that Liam probably should have a couple of warm-ups fights before jumping straight back in there, or what's your view on it?
Look, it's a bit like double or nothing on a roulette table, isn't it? If he loses that, he has to go home. See, it's going to dent his career furthermore. Look, I've seen Liam Wilson fight. I know. I remember him in the amateurs as well. Caleb Kozak fought him and defeated him in the amateurs. And then he turned pro and he got a bit of hype behind him. But I mean, I'm not. You can tell Justin Kennedy. I told Justin Kennedy to jump on Nornoy at $4.50 to beat Liam Wilson up in Newcastle, and we took a few multis around that. I think Liam Wilson will come back a better fighter. He was just too cocky in that fight, and he wasn't respecting Nornoy's power. Yeah. But, he did get dropped 3 or 4 times in a number of rounds. It wasn't as if it was just a quick knockdown and he's going to learn from that. I don't see Nornoy losing that fight again. Nornoy is a real good fighter. And the thing with Filipino fighters is a lot of them live by the borderline of poverty. Even though you see them ranked 6, 7 in the world, it's not the real fact in what they get paid and how they live. So, look, he's had his little payday, and I'll boost up his lifestyle and get him on the vitamins and stuff like that. I'm predicting he'll come back a better fighter against Liam Wilson. So Wilson's got to respect it. He's putting all the marbles on the tables, and it's not an easy fight. And hats off to Liam Wilson for doing that. I think that's the bravest, gutsiest move you can do, because he's playing around with his career now.
Yeah. Well, so sometimes you've got to learn the hard way. What about you, Tassie? Look, me personally, I would have loved him to have at least 2, if not 3 fights before taking him on again, because if he loses again, it's a long road back, isn't it?
Yeah, true. In hindsight, that's great. But as a fighter, wanting to avenge a loss, I can understand it. I mean,
but it's the nature of the loss. It wasn't one punch, or
it's the nature of a fighter.
Exactly. He got dropped 4 or 5 times. He got battered.
I mean,
where does he change it around?
He would have been embarrassed that night. He would have been.
Yeah, but where does he change it around, Tassie? What's he going to do next time? It's going to change what's going to happen. Nornoy's just going to attack.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I give credit for being most fighters will want to turn it around. It's up to the management to play it differently and get him a couple of warm-up fights.
Yeah.
But as a fighter, you want that fight. It's up to your management to go, no, let's just ease up a bit and we'll get him down the track. But as a fighter, you want to revenge that loss. It was on TV. You want to fucking turn that around. So it's up to the manager, whoever that is.
Why not have another couple of fights, get any type of insecurity
out of your
mind,
I agree.
take off some cobwebs, and then rematch him later down the track? Why back-to-back? What's the hurry? That's what I want to know. Why?
Especially when it's not, and especially it's not as if it's for a world title where you lost your title, you want it back. Yeah. He's still a contender. He's still on the way up. So
look, it's
I
brave
agree
stuff.
with what you said.
It's brave old school stuff, and you've got to take your hat off to Liam.
It's old school. It is old school.
I'm with you, Tassie.
It's old school, and it's won me over.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Tassie, that I agree that the fighter would probably want the rematch straight away. But if I was the management, I'd be saying, Liam, hey, mate, that's great, but let's just get a couple of fights under your belt, 2 or 3, and then we'll go back. But anyway, that's no limits decision. So I'm sure they've got his best interests at heart, and they'll make the right decision. The next one is, again, not much news going on, but this show's been announced. Actually, I think it was announced a couple of weeks ago, to be fair, but it's the March 5 show. It's the Ace Boxing show at Eaton's Hill Hotel. It's Floyd Masson versus Vikas Singh. I hope I've pronounced that right. Masson is 11-0, Singh is 11-1-1. So you can see the undercard there. Beck Hawker up against Shani Mayra. Hawker's 4-0, Mayra is 8-2. Also on the card is Billy Limov against Declan Kelly for the Australasian middleweight title. Also on that card is Abdullah Mayweather. I hope I've got that right. 5-0 up against Tomu. Tomu Guanavu, who's 5-2. That's for the Australasian super middleweight title. And the Cilia Costello, I hope I've pronounced that right. 2-0 is up against Jessica Cashman for the Australian flyweight title. So, Pete, it's a pretty good start for Ace Boxing for the year, and they're not mucking around up there.
No, Glenn Hosking, Angelo Di Carlo, both good blokes, putting it on. And Floyd Mason, I mean, I want to see more of Floyd Mason. I think he's one of the most underrated fighters in Australia right at the moment. Terrific bloke, and I hope he makes a ton of money and he gets a ton of titles because he's a champion bloke, and Ace are putting money behind him. They're flying people from India during COVID and stuff like that, so they're risking it, and good on them.
Yeah, exactly. Tassie, you obviously know Beck Hawker pretty well. You had her down on your show earlier last year. She's only 4-0, but she definitely looks the goods to go on to some bigger things, doesn't she?
Yeah, well, I mean, she upset my girl Massey Jacobs on my show, and she is a very tough girl. Comes to fight, is a real tough girl, and obviously, she sort of obviously surprised me with that victory, and obviously, mate, look, the world's an oyster. I mean, she's won titles in every fight, I think, recently, and she comes to fight, mate. No ifs or buts about it. So,
she's a hard nut, all right.
And as I said, mate, like I said last night on the interview I done, Angela Carlo and the team there, mate, they always do great things. They've, that he always puts his money where his mouth is. He always put some good shows on recently, and obviously, and Liam Paro and Big Dempsey McKean signed my matchroom. That's because of Angelo. Always commitment and hard work over the years, mate. So big props there.
Exactly. Well, as I mentioned at the start of the show, you boys obviously left me on my lonesome last week. I launched a new segment that I'm pretty keen to have you as part of, and it is the road to Zerafa versus Hardman.
He's a disrespectful fighter, and like I said, man, I cannot wait to punch fucking holes in him. What did I say? He was face down. I was going to point his toes to the ceiling, but face down will do. He should have stayed on the couch. Tell me that. He should have stayed on the couch. 6 or 7 fights.
One fight.
Mate, please, kick back and enjoy
One
yourself.
fight.
Like I said, watch the show. Have
watch
a Coke
the show.
and a hot dog.
Don't worry, I've got a ringside seat too.
So there it is, the road to Zerafa versus Hardman. So in this segment, guys, what it is at the moment, the boys are just having a little bit of fun with each other, with a little bit of banter back and forth. We haven't really started the official road to Zerafa yet. As I mentioned last week in the episode, it's normally about 8 weeks before we start getting anything resembling a fight build-up in terms of press conferences and interviews and all that sort of stuff. But I want to just go on this week's shenanigans for starters. First of all, just to see what the boys have been up to, and this is Michael Zerafa. You can see there he's putting in the work, sprinting up the hills, and this is obviously his Instagram page here, but definitely putting in the work there. Trains pretty hard, doesn't he, Pete?
Yeah, he does. Super fit, and he's got a great family behind him too. His dad, Manny, his uncle Thomas. They're good people. His brother's a good kid as well, Jason. So look, he's travelled all around the world with boxing. He's been to America, been to Russia, fought in different parts of the world, and obviously he's got a win over Jeff Horn. He's not intimidated, and he's got world-class skills, and he's very tough, Michael. So it's going to be very interesting how this fight happens as it gets closer. I believe Zerafa's got more big-time knowledge on Hardman, and I think that's going to be a decisive impact on the fight.
Tassie, before I let you comment there, let's just have a look at, we've seen what Michael's up to there. Let's just have a look at what Isaac Hardman's been up to. He's getting getting into the lawn up there. I think it's his pride and joy, the lawn up there. So I'm only joking about that if he's watching this is actually, he's been doing some training. This is some footage of him sparring during the week. So not all fun and games with the lawn up there. But Tassie, it's interesting that I've got a feeling that Isaac's the sort of guy who, while Zerafa is the type of guy that trains every day and keeps himself good, I've got a feeling that Isaac Hardman has his schedule in on the whiteboard and does it week by week, because you can tell obviously he's not quite into the fight mode just yet.
Yeah, look, I mean, Zarafa's known for his conditioning and his hard work. He trains the house down. That's a known fact. And like Peter said, he's fought all over the world, and guys like Kell Brook, his performance there, even though we didn't win, he got a lot of good shots on Brook and Harmon. Yeah, mate. Look, the best thing about Harmon was his activity last year, and that's the only thing. One of the big things in his favour going into this fight is his activity. With 4 fights last year, when Zarafa's obviously was only the fight against the one round against Mundine, and that sort of stuff. So, but mate, look, it's the best Aussie matchup out there. Because how good the fighters are. Obviously, too, because of their characters and their flamboyancy and they're willing to have a bit of fun. I mean, as I said, and Harmon's always going to be a puncher's chance, but Zarafa, he's fought on the big stage many times, and you can't overlook a quality of opposition, like Kell Brook and what's his name, Quinlan and obviously Horn and all that. So I mean, look, it's a good fight. There's going to be plenty of good build up and hype over it. The press conferences are going to be.
Look forward to that.
Off its head, I reckon. And,
well, speaking of that, let's have a little bit of fun with it, and that's just a bit of a tip. It's only fun. This is some Instagram shenanigans with there's a Rafa Hardman Instagram page. You there? What's that? Sam Labruna yells something to Hardman during the fight. This is the press conference here. Ben David paying $50 to be part of the brawl. That's good value, Pete. I reckon that one is.
Yeah.
This is not a bad idea. We might need this. You can see there it's actually a fence between the two. You reckon that'd work, Tassie?
Yeah, mate. I'm not a fan of none of this shit, to be honest with you, brother, at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't impress me, all this crap. Yeah.
Yeah. What the actual? And you can see a bit of the what movie is this? Any given Sunday? Look,
Any given Sunday.
Yeah. Bit of and this is what's this one here? Walking into the stadium for fight night. So look, as I said, we're all just having a little bit of fun at the moment. We've started the road to the fight. At the moment, all there is these memes and fun things going back and forth. So we'll keep putting them on. We'll obviously get a lot more serious as the fight comes up. We'll have both boys on for interviews, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more serious stuff. I'm sure we will, but at the moment, it's still a little bit of back and forth. So just a little bit of fun. So early days, Pete, you said that your money would be on Zarafa. I think you said, is that right?
Yeah, I think, especially in Melbourne, Zarafa's hard to beat here.
Okay.
He's just got that. I think if it was interstate, it would be a bit different. But Zarafa in Melbourne, I think he can beat anyone.
What about you, Tassie?
I mean, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit surprised because, I mean, if Dean Lonergan obviously is big time in this game, and Harmon's his boy, why would you give up that home advantage of leaving Queensland?
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't understand. Well, why you give up that home advantage?
Well, I've got a little bit of news on the fight itself. It's interesting that Michael Zarafa has been put into the top 10 of the IBF. So obviously it will be for an IBF sort of regional title. You probably know a bit about this, Pete, as well. But I've heard that the winner will go into the top 3 or 4 of the IBF and obviously put themselves right in the line of a world title fight. So that's interesting that, just this week, Zarafa's been put into the top 10. And I think Hardman's around that point as well. So the winner will be right in line for a world title shot. So plenty at stake with the boys. And obviously we'll get a bit more serious as we go. But apart from all the shenanigans on Instagram, there's not really much to talk about at the moment. So if you're watching, guys, let's get a bit more inventive on what we're doing. A bit more training montages on the Instagram. All right, guys, got a bit of world news to get through. Again, not a hell of a lot sort of going on at the moment. But the one thing that I caught this week, Tassie, was this one, is that the Chocolito Estrada fight has been cancelled. Estrada has got COVID and has been replaced by Julio Cesar Martinez, who's a Eddie Reneso fighter, so part of Team Canelo, and he'll take the spot I think this is for the WBA super flyweight title, so he'll take the spot. So not an easy replacement for Chocolatito, because this guy obviously is part of Team Canelo, must be able to fight.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's a shame that obviously COVID again's ruined a fight, but yeah, this guy might be a lively opponent, definitely.
You know much about this guy, Pete? Have you seen this Martinez fight? I must admit.
Yeah. No, he's tough. I know a lot about him because that weight division, I had Randy Peddle-Corin, and I check out. I've seen Chocolatito fight live. He started as a junior flyweight, and he's a 3-division world champion now. Look, up at Superfly, he's vulnerable because he's a tiny guy, and he always has been. And he's getting older. So he's kind of probably going to, get his last few little bit of paydays in him. I don't think he's a fighter he was. But saying that, it's a bit like watching Rafa Nadal play tennis. He's still classy enough to beat the middle of the range guys, but he wasn't the Rafa of 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Yep. And that's the same with Chocolat. He's still classy enough to beat, the 7 out of 10 type of fighters. And he trains over in Japan with Mr. Honda, and he gets good sparring, and they look after him. And he's good fighter, and a great team as well.
Yeah, well, hopefully the fight gets rescheduled for later in the year. The other thing I saw this week was a bit of the love triangle between Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and Alexander Usyk, if I can pronounce that right. There's rumours that Joshua's been offered £15 million, which is about $28.5 million Australian, to step aside to allow Fury and Usyk to fight. So I suppose the big question is, Tassie, would you take the money?
Yeah, probably would. I mean, like everyone wants to see Joshua and Fury. So if Fury can beat Usyk, that's a dangerous fight for Fury, though. Don't get me wrong. Usyk's a dangerous guy for everyone. Yep. He's that awkward. But if Fury can beat Usyk, then everyone wants Joshua, and I want Joshua Fury. That's the fight I want. It's the only heavyweight fight I really want is that fight. I'm not really interested in Joshua Usyk rematch or Fury Usyk. I want Usyk I want Fury and Joshua. But mate, I guess, if someone's paying me that big money, I'd wait a little bit longer for my shot and take it for sure.
What about you, Pete? Do you think it'll be the smart decision by Joshua to take the £15 million or demand the rematch with Usyk first?
I don't believe that offer's genuine, to be honest. They're denying that. I think it's just crap published. No one gives $28 million a step aside. It's not viable. So
it doesn't make sense.
Look, everyone's playing games. It doesn't make sense, but whatever. The heavyweight division's in a pretty good state at the moment. But I'd just like to add, a good friend of mine won the WBC featherweight world title. Mark Magnifico Maceo. Well done, everyone. Doubted you. You defeated Gary Russell Jr.
Yep.
He was the longest standing champion, and to Sean Gibbons, to Freddie Roach, to all the boys at Wildcard. Fantastic win. And Mark Maceo and his wife Frances, congratulations. I mean, this kid from Cebu, Bahol, started at, getting $50 a fight. I remember him fighting at the Coliseum in Cebu as a young kid, and now to see him win a world title and secure his life, and he's based in America now. So Mark Maceo, a lot of people doubted the win, but for me, he's a WBC featherweight world champion. No one's ever going to take that away from him.
Russell had been champion for 7 years, so I've had that obviously there to recognise that. I had the pleasure of meeting him a few years back when we were over there with the Twins, I think it was over there for something, and ran into them at of all places, a shopping centre. They were there, the RLR boys were there, and they were doing an in-store signing in one of the suburbs that's obviously heavy in Filipino population, and the place was packed. Filipinos everywhere getting photos.
I think it would have been in Santa Monica. It would have been in Santa Monica.
I can't remember where it was, but pretty amazing. Let's get just back to the Tyson Fury one. This is what he had to say about it all.
I'm being asked this question over and over again. I do not know the answers to it. I'm ready to fight this weekend. I've been training 3 weeks. How long does a man need to train? Joshua's a coward. Usyk's a pussy, and Dylan White don't want to fight. So if you can prove me wrong, get to fucking fighting. You pair of cowards. You're all cowards. You're all bumdossers. Either fight or do one. You pack of wet lettuces. I'm just going to keep videoing until one of these cowards decide to fight. You're all cowards, shithouse bums. I don't care who I fight. AJ, Usyk, Dylan White, or any of them. Fight me. I'm the best man that's ever lived. And these are all coward bumdossers. I'll annihilate the lot of yous and destroy yous. Submit yous. Tap you bitches out. Come and fight.
Look, I don't think you could think do anything else but love the Gypsy King, could you? He's just so.
He's the best. He's the best.
Yeah, I just love. He doesn't look anything like a boxer. He gets in there and he doesn't do anything particularly well, but he always gets the job done. And he's definitely one of my favourite fighters as well. I think he's awesome.
For sure.
Hopefully, look, no matter what happens, Tyson Fury is holding all the aces. So whatever happens, he'll be calling the shots, wouldn't he? So. Let's go on to the third point here. I actually quickly mentioned this last week, but I was interested in your point of view, guys. This is Terence Crawford, who's actually suing Bob Arum and Top Rank for $5.4 million for, strange enough, racial bias is the allegation. And as I said, I didn't really go into it too much last week because I don't really know too much about it. But Pete, does it seem a little bit odd that he's suing a guy who's been in the industry for 50 odd years and has promoted all sorts of different ethnicities and races and that sort of stuff, to accuse him of racial bias? Is a thing that's got any foundation?
I think it's a big joke. I mean, Bob Arum has lost a lot of money promoting Terence Crawford, and he's done the right thing by him throughout. And I mean, Bob Arum's a promoter and boxing's a business, and he's lost money on Terence Crawford. Bob Arum hasn't got one racist bone in his body. I mean, he's one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. Everyone that's met Bob, if you called him up, he'll talk to you for half an hour. It doesn't matter who you are. He's that type of bloke. And I think it's disgraceful.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Tassie, Pete just mentioned there about he's been, Bob Arum said in the past about losing a lot of money. He's made no secret of that, but it's strange enough, that's one of the subjects of the papers that were served. That was one of the points on there, is that Bob Arum had publicly spoken about losing money on Terence Crawford, and that was actually part of the allegations. It's really bizarre, isn't it?
Was he saying that sort of hurts his name?
Yeah.
Or something by saying that he... It probably does, but I mean, look, I don't know much about it, to be honest with you. But obviously,
it's a touchy subject.
I don't know about the race. I don't know about the races and stuff, but I mean, Terence Crawford's, pound for pound top two. I think he should go to Al Heyman and PBC. It's the only way he's going to get the Spence fight. If Spence beats Ugas, then all the belts will be up there, and all the full belts. So, so I don't really know much about this court case, but I'd like to see Terence fight Spence eventually. Spence beat Ugas and show any doubters, that anyone doubts him, that he's pound for pound top two under Canelo. He's just a great fighter.
Yeah, I think one of the allegations too was that I think Top Rank was supposed to pay him $900,000 if the Spence fight hadn't happened by the end of 2020. So we'll see what happens there. You mentioned Canelo. He's next in line here. There's been some word in the last day or two about his possible options for Cinco de Mayo weekend, which is May 7th, most likely in Las Vegas he fights. So at the moment it's between two fighters. One is with PBC to be on their card to fight Jamal Charlo, which I think would be great for the world's super middleweight title. It's Canelo's undisputed title. The other one was signing a 2-fight deal with Eddie Hearn to fight Dimitri Bivol for the WBA light heavyweight title on Cinco de Mayo, and then backed it up on September 17 against Triple G, which would be an interesting one. So, an interesting with the Triple G fight, Pete. It does probably make sense because both fights averaged 1 million pay-per-view buys and a $20 million live gate. So it probably makes sense. However, I've got to say, I'm not quite sure I'd be wanting to get in with Bivol at light heavyweight, but, Canelo's shown he's the man, isn't he?
Yeah, there's also talk of Canelo moving up to cruiserweight and fighting
I hope that doesn't happen.
Conga and WBC.
Yeah, I thought that was locked in, though. Isn't that locked in, that fight?
No, not locked in yet.
Oh, good. Yeah, good.
No, but that gives Canelo a chance to be a 5-division world champion, the only Mexican to do that, and I think that gives him also right to probably being the greatest Mexican fighter. I mean, I think he's 5'8", 5'9", so anything he does from now on is going to be a bonus. I think he's going to make the most money of any other fighter in the history of the sport. And I mean, what is he, 31, 32? He's got another 5, 6 years of big fights in front of him. He's going to be making plenty of money. So look, for mine, I'd move him up to cruiserweight and fight the Kong cruiserweight world champion and get 5 world titles in 5 different weight classes.
Yeah, I mean
because it's
that would be great for his legacy as a fan, though. It just doesn't excite me at all. What about you, Tassie, fighting that guy at cruiserweight?
It doesn't excite me, but like Mayweather, he can do what he wants. He's earned the right.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me personally, I'm not interested in it. But I mean,
which route out of those two would you go for? Out of the options,
I got asked this last night. Probably the Mexican, but Benavidez.
Yeah. Well, it looks like here it's either Charlo or Bivol and then Triple G.
Well, probably Charlo coming up rather than going up and fighting Bivol.
Yeah.
Even though I think he could beat Bivol, I think he could probably beat. I think he could beat better Diaz too. I mean, they're big punches, but Canelo would probably slow the pace down, be a lot quicker than them guys with his explosive counters and probably beat them guys. But yeah, look, they're all good fights. Charlo's a live opponent, and Triple G obviously be great to cap off the trilogy. His inactivity would hurt him bad, and I think Canelo probably could even stop Triple G now.
Yeah.
But Charlo, probably Charlo, mate, coming up. A very tough African American fighter who believes in himself. That would probably be the biggest, I reckon.
I'd like to see the best of both worlds and have him fight Charlo with PBC and then sign the one fight deal with Triple G in September. I think that would be
Triple G's done, no. Triple G's done. That won't even be competitive now.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, he's nearly 40 years of age. He's not the fighter he was, and Canelo's gone to another level. That would sell good. Be a good fight for Canelo. Triple G, that would be an easier fight for Canelo now than it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. All right, boys, we'll move on. We're going to get on to the talking points of this week. And, some interesting ones. I quickly touched on, I think a couple of weeks ago, our first point here was about why don't Aussie boxing fans support local shows. And what was really interesting about it, and I must admit I didn't really think too much about it when we spoke about it, but we actually got a fair bit of feedback on social media about it, and I wanted to talk to you about it in this episode. So this is part 2 of why don't Aussie boxing fans go to local shows. And Tassie, it was interesting, and it was, I suppose in this instance we're all in a position to speak about it because we're all being promoters obviously and being at shows. But the feedback I got, Tassie, was that one of the reasons was the tables. It's not about the average fight fans anymore. It's all about the corporates and selling tables and all that sort of stuff, which I'm assuming is correct. The other one was that a couple of people say, well, we're not stupid. This is the day of BoxRec. We all jump online and check out the credentials of the opponent, and we all know when we're getting stiffed, so we just don't turn up. Now, I think these guys don't obviously know what it's like to be on our side of the fence when you're promoting a show with expenses and trying to do the right thing by your fighter. But what do you think about that feedback?
Look, boxing is just different, and Australia is different to what it was back in the day. Back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, there were die-hard fight fans. It wouldn't matter if it was the Festival Hall in Melbourne or Sydney Stadium, Leichhardt Stadium in Sydney. No matter who, they wouldn't have to know the fighters like now.
Yeah.
They just go, regardless. We're going to the fights. Friday night fights, Saturday night fights, Monday night fights. We're going to the fights. It's a night out. You take your mates or you take your date, whatever. Now, if you don't have someone that sells tickets to their family and friends, you don't get nobody. Like we said,
about that, yeah.
Probably 20 of. If you don't have your fighters, just for instance, Linda, one of your shows, if Jay Mitchell's not selling to his family and friends, Maloney boys aren't selling to his family and friends, Rafa's not selling to his family and friends, or if I've got Luke Jackson or Bo Belbin or Mousy James on their family and friends, you're not getting no one. You're getting 20, 30 people to watch the fights, and that's just honest. A couple of reasons why. Boxing is not that popular like it used to be, as I keep saying. It's not mainstream. It's probably the media's fault. And I think also your average male now is not into fighting. He's a bit of a pussy. Your average male under 30 is a bit of a feminine pussy. So they're not into fighting like we used to go to the fights. My dad's day, go to the fights. My grandfather's day, go to the fights. So your average male in Australia under 30 is very feminine pussy. And I'll say that. Yeah. That's the way it is. So there's that point. There's also media, the Australian media, AFL, rugby league, cricket, 2020. They get everything, mate. Boxing doesn't get mainstream. At least they get a Mundine, a Gallen, a Green, or a Tim Tszyu. No one's interested. So, unfortunately, like the old days, just going to the fights and watching the fights regardless of who's fighting. Now, unless you sell directly to a fan, a supporter, a family member, you say, Lyndon, here's 10 tables, go and sell them. Peter, you say, go, here's 10 tables and 50 generals, they'll come back sold. But only to their people. Yeah. The days are gone and it's not going to change. No. Boxing is actually dead, in my opinion, guys. Yeah. It's dead.
What do you reckon, Pete? Do you think that the responses were accurate, that it's more of a corporate thing these days, and the real boxing fans get shunted down the back in the $80 or $90 tickets down the back of the hall, and it's all about the corporates that aren't really necessary boxing fans? Do you think that has some weight?
Look, I think all industries are falling back in crowds. You go to the football, the crowds aren't as big as they used to be. You go to, you get a Collingwood versus Essendon game. If they're not playing well anymore, both have got 100,000 members each. You get 30,000 people there. So people are more used to staying at home now and watching stuff at home and doing stuff on their laptop or watching their flat screen. True. So they're not going to venture out and get a hot dog and, walk in a slush of the car parks and then walk through and all that crap. So to actually get people to, I remember when I first started promoting events, I'd get 300 walk-ups on a night. I'd get between 3 and 350. Then that dropped to 100, like lately. So what's happened to those 250 people? So but that's all industry. It's all across the board. You go to cricket now, you go to the Sheffield Shield, there'll be 200 people in attendance. And the game will be at the SCG. Yeah, what happens to that? It's not like, it's $10 to get in. How can you get only 200 fans at Sheffield Shield? You've got Steve Smith and you've got all the test players playing. No one wants to go and watch. That's a trend. It's not just boxing. Everyone's copped a hit in the neck. It's more now the marketing. You've got to have good marketing. The MMA and UFC and Dana White is a marketing genius, so they can market to people and they get their events through.
This is the reason why
Eddie Hearn is a marketing genius.
Yeah, this is the reason down the track why I'd like to make the show live, so that we can actually get some people actually come on the show and let us know what their thoughts are, because it's really, really interesting to get feedback from the guys that are expected to buy tickets that aren't family and friends. But on to point number 2, and this is about, so you just said Dana White. Now, I'll just preempt this by no, you don't give a flying toss about the UFC, but I found it just sort of blew me away the other day. As I said, Dana White has a lot to answer for when paying fighters. Now, the reason I say that, I've just got a few notes here. The UFC 270, which happened last weekend, I think it was, had 17,500 people in attendance for a $5.5 million live gate. Had 1 million pay-per-view buys, let's say, at 60. What's that? $60. So what's that? $60 million in turnover. The total payout to the fighters was $2.1 million in total for the whole card. Has you got something to answer for, Tassie? I know, not nothing to do with the UFC. This is the business side of things.
I was in the Gold Coast. I went to the barbers to get my hair trimmed and my beard shaved, and the barber goes, "Oh, you're watching the fights this weekend?" And I didn't know there was any fights. I said, "What fights?" "Oh, UFC," and I went, "What fights?" You know what I mean? But in saying that, I do believe Dana White answers to people.
Yeah.
I believe he sold UFC. So I think there's a board of directors that actually run it. He's the face
boss,
of it.
But not the owner.
So I believe he's got people to answer to. It just showed, and like I laughed at their big heavyweight who I don't even know his name, some big black guy.
Francis Ngannou
got
was his name.
Got 800,000.
600 actually.
And Tyson Fury gets 30 mil for Wilder rematch. So it just shows, and like I said for years, it is popular. There is a market for UFC. I think a lot of nerds like it. A lot of like computer nerd people like MMA, and guys that like guys touching other guys. But they'll never overcome boxing. And I said that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it looked like they were going to sort of push us a bit. But look at the paydays.
Yeah.
McGregor had to go to fight Mayweather to get his biggest payday. No, they'll never outbreak boxing because guys smelling each other's bums is not interesting.
Well, I think there was a comparison, Pete, that Tyson Fury, I think, got $40 million. I think Canelo is regularly on $40 million US, by the way. Ngannou got 600, Gain got 500, which means the rest of the card got $1 million between them, which is ridiculous. So looking at those figures there, if it was about $1 million buys, so which I think it's about $60 a pop, so it's at $60 million. I'm assuming the broadcaster takes half of that, so that's $30 million. The live gate was $32. Probably got sponsors that pumps it up to about $40 million. Out of that, only $2 million was for the fighters. So UFC made $38 million out of that. So I'm just saying, we all make fun of Jake Paul, but him trying to hold Dana White to account is probably not as stupid as we think he is.
Yeah, I mean,
True.
I'm not into UFC, so I don't
I'm just
even
more the
watch
business
it.
side of things, not the
have
sport.
anything. I
It's not
don't
the
know
sport itself,
anything
but-
about it.
Yeah. But as your opinion,
Well,
I'm
well,
not asking for
Peter,
the opinion of the sport. I'm
Peter.
asking the opinion on the situation.
The situation
Peter,
is, if you're stupid enough to get yourself involved in that, good luck to you.
And Tassie, hence why this Ngannou is now talking about going to boxing. So there you go.
well, they all do, mate. They all eventually cross over. And look, mate, I respect any athlete in any sport, especially a combat sport, but it's just not my cup of tea.
No, that's fair enough.
I'm a traditionalist. I'm a boxing traditionalist. I'm in the Olympic Games. I'm the professional boxing. Like me and Peter years ago outside Hugo's Lounge on Chapel, I think we saw a couple of guys rolling around on the ground smelling each other's bums. We kept walking, didn't we, Pete?
As I said, it wasn't about the sport itself. It wasn't necessarily about like it or not. It's really just about the situation. And if I was a UFC fighter, I'd be thinking, what the hell, especially seeing what the boxers get paid. But anyway, we'll move on to point number 3. Now, you'll like this one, Tassie. We need to temper our expectations of Nikita Tszyu. Now, I know we touched on it earlier in the piece, and what I mean by that is let's not heap all this expectation on him. We know about his dad. We know that Tim's doing great things. My point is that do we need to just let Nikita Tszyu be Nikita Tszyu? And I know it's almost impossible because of his last name, but do we just need as fight fans just to let him be himself and ease his way into it and just let him evolve and develop into a fighter without expecting too much from him?
Yeah, well, 100% easier said than done. But I mean, definitely. Let him have a couple of fights and let him just show, what he's got, and I'm sure he will. But look, it's unavoidable. I mean, his dad is one of the greatest of all time, and his brother, has done so many big things the last 2 years. So there's always going to be there. It's going to be, but I mean, if anyone's going to guide him and look after him, it's Glenn Jennings and grandfather Papa Boris. They'll do as best as they can to sort of keep him there. But look, all we can do is just watch his first few fights. I'm sure they'll be great fights, and I'm sure that he'll show his own style. I mean, he's a southpaw, unlike Tim and his dad. I hear he's a bit more aggressive and more of a puncher than Tim. That's from Tim's own mouth. But it's going to be hard to keep him away from the expectations. But you can only do your best, mate. Yeah.
Well, as I said, Pete, I'm not talking. I know he's in the best hands possible. Don't get me wrong. It's probably more from a fight fan point of view that we have to just temper our expectations. And as I said, I want to enjoy him, the development of Nikita Tszyu, not say, who's he fighting? And geez, he didn't look good in this one and needs to work on that. I just want to enjoy him, and hopefully he gets to the same point as Tim. And as I said, I know it's impossible with the last name, but what about yourself? Would you like to see just everyone's expectations just keep in check a little bit?
I don't think the Tszyu family worry about stuff like that. I mean, Kosh has been in the sport all his life, and obviously he would have said the same thing to Tim. And Nikita's got a university degree, and his mum's nice balanced lady. I don't think they care. I don't think they're that type of people that sit on boxing forums worrying about what people say.
Yep, good.
So I'm pretty sure he's going to get a balanced run into it, and let's see how good he is. I mean, I've seen him in the amateurs, a few tapes. He looks like Kosh, but a southpaw version. So let's just wait and see. Good luck to him for trying out and doing what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, boys. Let's move on to point number 3. Now, this is one I'm going to aim at you, Tassie, and this says here, online boxing coaches are dangerous. Now, let me just elaborate that. I'm not talking about the PTs that just get the flappy pads on and don't know anything about boxing. I've seen a little bit of a trend, Tassie, of boxing, like proper, like guys on there trying to teach people proper boxing. And I must admit I'm alarmed because some of the things I'm seeing just will give me nightmares. There's some really good ones out there, I will say. And if you're on the lookout for one in Australia, there's the Australian Boxing Academy, I think it is, with Ben Sava. Does some really good stuff. Internationally, I see online, there's Coach Anthony, who does some really good stuff from the American side of things. But what I'm seeing is this alarming trend of one is that these guys on there, you can just see they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they've got online courses they sign people up for. But worse, I've seen actual boxing coaches subscribe to these things to teach their fighters. Now, if you're a coach that's got to subscribe to a YouTube channel to find out how to throw a hook or an uppercut or whatever, you shouldn't be a coach. And if you're a boxer out there and your coach is watching those videos, I'd get out of there as quick as possible. What do you think?
Yeah, well, look, if you haven't studied to be a brain surgeon, I don't think you should be picking up the scalpel on your first try and attempting to do brain surgery.
Or watching YouTube
If you
videos.
haven't done your apprenticeship as a fighter yourself, like I say, amateur.
And we're not saying you've got to be a superstar,
possibly professional.
Yeah, we've never said
No, not saying that.
Yeah.
At least done a bit. But as for just learning from YouTube or learning from fighters, online, it's just ludicrous, mate. And look, there is a bit of it. It's just look. A lot of them just try to do flashy pad techniques, but it's all bullshit, mate. Like I said last night in the interview, fundamentally, I'll tell you now, mate. Like with Aussies, fundamentally, if you can teach any guy to box, if you want to get someone to box like a Daniel Gill with footwork, in and out, angles, hit, not be hit, parry, just beautiful skill. So he was taught the right way. You want to teach someone boxing, not just all this pad stuff because it looks good on Instagram and all this stuff. And I do see a lot of it. Footwork and balance is very underrated. Like that doesn't get, I think, put on as much now. About having that right, balance and that right, the right footwork to be able to get in and out, to go to the side, to, a lot of it doesn't get, So look, if you need to watch videos,
just do your
to
research
teach your
properly.
fighters. I feel sorry for Yeah, so
Pete, I know you probably haven't got an opinion on it, but do you agree that if you're at least going to be watching YouTube videos, just do a little bit of research and look for the right ones?
I don't know what to say. I mean, look, a proper trainer, you know who they are, and you go to the gym and you do it in a real way. I don't do that internet. I know it's opened up a different world for different people, but power to everyone. Everyone's got a choice to do whatever they want. If you want to view that and subscribe
and that's
to someone
fine.
like that, that's your way.
The only
I'm not going to
videos,
say you.
the only videos worth looking up is probably Pornhub. I reckon that's about probably the best you can do. Like I don't know about
But look, my opinion is if you're out there watching, there are some really good ones. As I said, Ben Sava with his Instagram Australian Boxing Academy is really good.
Ben was a pretty good fighter.
Got some good credentials. Right. Coach Anthony, I think, is probably the best international one out there. He's an American who does some really good things as well. But all I'm saying is just do your due diligence and just have a bit of a look. Don't just believe anyone online that's showing you how to throw a left hook or whatever, because unlike martial arts, there is no policing of this at all. Anyone can literally become a boxing coach. So just be careful. That's all I'm saying. If you are one of those guys that don't know what the hell you're doing, get off YouTube. Number 5. Last one. This is just a bit of one I've thrown in there as just a point of difference. Is it time for a fresh approach in our amateur program, Tassie? Now, what I mean by that is What's his name? I think Kevin Smith is the national coach. He's been there for quite some time. Bodo was obviously before that. Do you think in the coaching side of things that maybe it might be time for a fresh approach? And what I mean by that is, I see the Jeff Fennick's of the world and the Billy Husseins of the world out there. Would one of those guys be better to come in and take over our amateur program instead of what we've had in the last few years?
Well, isn't Jamie Pittman in line to take over?
Jamie Pittman, I think, oversees the whole program, and he's the best guy to have in charge. He's a great guy, Jamie. He oversees the whole program, I think, but Kevin Smith's still the national coach.
Yeah, so I think one day...
Smart ass, Lyndon, but I think we respelled amateur wrong there, isn't it? U-E-R?
I knew you'd pick that up, Pete. Have I spelled? Is it U-E-R, is it?
I'm because it's looking weird, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going,
whatever.
It's kind of standing out.
The Greeks don't
I might be wrong.
Mate.
Well, I had to do it quickly. It was a last-minute one, so if it is wrong, I apologise. But back to the point, Tassie, what do you think?
But yeah, anyway, I think. Look, Jamie Pittman will take over eventually, and he's obviously credentialed. I mean, being an ex-Olympic captain, fourth world title, very good. I was teammates with Jamie back in '99, Oceania Games.
Great guy for the role.
And he's done. He's been away on took a lot of teams away. I think in the juniors and the girls teams. So look, I don't know much about the English guy that's there, but Jamie will be good. I've said a long time, I'd like to see Luke Jackson and maybe even Daniel Gill step up, because they were, again,
Justin
two
Crawford,
great amateurs.
Skinny Hussein, there's so many people out there that could have a role.
Yeah. Look, but it's all about the time, and if I think Justin Crawford's always wanted that role, and he would jump at it tomorrow. I think Luke Jackson, I know for a fact Luke Jackson would jump at that tomorrow. Not sure about Geely, but I mean, look, Lyndon, you was international representative. You need someone who's been there, knows the international format, knows about the training camps, knows what it's like to travel, knows what it's like to compete at that high level, knows what it's like to, just be there in the amateur system, mate, you know what I mean? So it's always a tough ask when you're up against Germany, Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, etc. So I think with Jamie Pittman there, maybe a Luke Jackson, a Daniel Gill, I mean, Jeff Fennick, and that wouldn't have time for it, or Billy Hussein. I know for a fact that they wouldn't do it.
Jeff Fennick?
Yeah, of course, but I mean, I've got to be realistic. I know they probably wouldn't, have time to do it. I think Luke Jackson, Justin Crawford, to go alongside Jamie Pittman would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I think so too.
And they're not just because they're, sorry for just mentioning Tasmanians, but
that's fine.
Daniel Gill, Justin Crawford, and Luke Jackson, three very, very good Tasmanian Olympians.
They are, and I'm just throwing a few names out there, but I think all I'm saying is, Pete, wouldn't it be great if you're an amateur boxer at the moment? I'm sure, as I said, Jamie Pittman's a great choice for the role, as Dover said, all that's great. Kevin Smith, I'm sure, is a great coach. What I'm saying is that for those young amateurs, how good would it be to roll up and have those types of guys as your mentors and coaches that have been there and done that? And just think it'd be a little bit more exciting for to keep our amateurs involved in the amateur program instead of just getting, and then turning pro. So.
Yeah, anyway. For sure. Don Abnott went over to the Philippines as well, didn't he?
He did. Yep, and he was a good coach.
Donnie was there for a while as the head coach after Bodo.
Yep.
I know Donnie. So.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to move on to our last segment, and this is everyone's favourite. It is the Boxing Deep Dive Quiz for the first time in 2022. Now, a little bit of a spin on things tonight, boys. Tonight's segment, quiz, is based around boxing movies is the theme tonight. So we're going to see how well you know your boxing movies. You're looking a bit worried there, Tazzy. You've probably seen everything, haven't you?
No, I don't watch boxing movies.
You don't watch boxing movies? Well, there you go.
Apart from the Rockies.
All right, well, we'll see how we go anyway. I'm sure these ones you might know anyway. Well, here it was with this bright idea to have boxing movies. We'll see how we go. The rules are, yell out your name when I ask the question. I will then decide who was first. Both of you guys will no doubt have a bit of lag from your end, so it looks like you're in first. Rest assured, from my end, the other one got in first. That's what I'll stipulate. If you get it wrong, the other one gets a free hit at it. And if we both get it wrong, well, we move on. And the judge's decision is final. All right, guys, let's see how well you know your boxing movies. All right, here we go. Number 1. Who starred as Mickey Ward in The Fighter?
Tazzy.
Yes, Tazzy. Tazzy?
Mark Wahlberg.
Certainly did. At least you knew that one, Pete. You're just a little bit slow getting in. Number 2. What fighter's life is depicted in Raging Bull?
Tazzy.
Give that one to Peter. Just.
It is. He fought Sugar Ray Leonard 5 times. And Italian little guy.
You'll kick yourself.
Who is it? It's,
Give him a buzzer, Lyndon.
3,
It's taking too long.
2, 1. Tazzy?
Jake LaMotta.
Jake. Too late.
Jake LaMotta.
Too late.
Oh, let's just put an asterisk beside that one.
Give it to him. Give it to him.
Okay, here we go.
Give it to him. What
is the name of the boxer Rocky fights in the opening scene of Rocky 1?
Tazzy.
Peter.
Spider Rico.
Spider Rico is correct. He said he didn't know boxing movies, although it is Rocky, I suppose.
No, I said Rocky. Yeah.
Okay. Number 4. What's the name of the movie based on the life of Vinny Pazienza?
Tazzy.
Peter.
Tazzy. What's the name of the movie that's based on Vinny Pazienza?
Pass.
Peter? Came out a couple of years ago.
Tasmanian Devil.
No, it's called Bleed for This is the name. So it's at 2-1. I don't think you're going to get this one, but I threw it in there anyway because it's one of my favourite 80s boxing movies. What is the name of the mid-80s movie starring Eric Estrada from Chips? I knew I'd get you with this one. 3, 2, 1. Honey Boy was the name of the movie. I can't believe you haven't seen Honey Boy. It's a great movie.
No.
Check it out. It's on YouTube for free. Check it out. Honey Boy. It's good. Well, it seemed good when I was a 12-year-old or 13-year-old anyway. So. All right, another one from around the same time. Who played the lead role in The Champ?
Peter.
Peter.
John Voight.
He certainly did. John Voight. I would have taken Ricky Schroeder as well, who was his co-star. Great movie. One of the saddest boxing movies of all time, and can't wait if they remake that one. That would be good. Have you actually seen that one, Tassie?
Yeah, many years ago with my
Champ?
dad. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, that's 3
A
to 1.
little kid, little blonde-headed
Ricky
kid.
Schroeder. Yep. His
Yeah,
dad died in the last fight, and it was
Yeah.
Get the tissues ready for that one. So that's at 3 to 1. That it is now. Number 7. Aside from Rocky, what was the name of the lead character in Creed?
Peter.
Tazzy.
Peter.
Apollo Creed.
No, incorrect. Tazzy, what was the name of the lead character in Creed?
Oh, that cool character.
Yep.
Yeah, pass, mate.
Adonis was his name. I'm getting the impression that this is sort of falling a bit flat, this segment. But anyway, we'll keep going. Back to the normal. I've got Zarafa Hardman was the first one, and now we've got the quiz. It's been a bit flat. But anyway, we'll press on. Number 8. What Depression-era boxer was the subject of Cinderella Man?
Peter.
Tazzy.
Peter.
John Braddock. Cinderella
Yes.
Man.
Yep, John Braddock or James Braddock, same thing. He's called both. So the Cinderella Man starring Russell Crowe. Number 9.
Rusty.
What was the name of the 1999 movie that starred Denzel Washington?
Tazzy.
Peter.
Tazzy.
The Hurricane.
That was right. Yep, The Hurricane. I think, is that 4 to 2? I think you might have this stitched up. But anyway, we'll go for the Who Am I? This is a movie character in a boxing movie. And these stats are actually correct. I was born in Chicago, USA on May 21st, 1958. After a life on the streets of Chicago that included serving time in numerous juvenile facilities, I found boxing in my mid-teens. With a mantra of living alone, training alone, and ultimately... Yes, Peter.
Tassie.
Peter.
Clubber Lang.
I'll finish the clues there. Ultimately winning the
Would
title
you have got
alone.
that, Tassie? Was that the one you were going to get?
Yeah.
He was one of the most feared boxers of his generation. He quickly worked his way through the heavyweight ranks and got his first crack at the title in mid-1982. I then stunned the boxing world by winning the title with a second-round knockout. My reign, however, was short-lived when I was knocked out in 3 rounds in the rematch. I then faded into obscurity and retired with a 28-1 record that included all 28 wins by KO. And strangely enough, those statistics are actually on Wikipedia, if you want to look them up. His record, where he was born, all that sort of stuff. And he actually had a bit of a bonus point. Did he actually know what his first name was? No? James.
What is Clubber Lang, was it?
Yeah, no.
James Clubber.
His first name was James Clubber Lang, was his full name. So, there you go. So, mental note for the following, or for future quizzes, don't do something stupid and have something different than we normally host.
This was like an exhibition. I'm not classing this as a win or anything. It's an exhibition. This one
no decision come back. I think
no decision about this was.
I think I'll take
It's
that one.
It's the first one for the year, isn't it? One for the year?
It is,
yeah.
So we'll call that a non-title fight. Non-title. It was a warm-up.
Yeah.
And I won't get cute in the future and try and do something that goes against what we normally do. So from next week, we'll go back to...
I can't believe I had a mental blank on Jake LaMotta.
Yeah.
So, you almost put me to sleep, Lyndon.
All right.
You should have gone me. I shouldn't have got that one, but...
all good, boys. Well, hey, it was a bit of a warm-up for our first probably official show all together for the year. I know, Tassie, we've done a show and I've done one by myself. First show back with all 3 of us. I really like the idea of having Noonan Boy on for a future show, so we'll try and get him on. Big thank you to Faris Chavalier for coming on. All the best to him. Thanks again to you, Pete. And Tassie, looks like you need a bit of sleep there, mate, so go and get some rest. And we'll see you all next week.
I'll do a series on the Gold Coast, mate.
Thanks, Lyndon. Thanks, Tassie.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
See you guys.
Cheers.